Okay. So I'd like to introduce you to Jim Brown. He's the creator of the Dispatchers as part of First Responders Facebook group page that we're all members of. And he went county by county through West Virginia to get proclamations um, declaring dispatchers as first responders, which ultimately led to the state passing a law recognizing the West Virginia dispatchers as first responders. Here in New Jersey, we're still working on it. We have 3 bills in the works in the assembly, and there's talk of trying to merge all 3 into one, and then hopefully that will get passed later this year. But Jim and I, we'd like to introduce everyone to Shawnna Gunn Davenport, and you're from the great state of Texas. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And you.
Nice to meet you, ma'am.
Nice to meet you too. And thank you, sir, for your efforts.
Thank you.
So now you were chosen. Was that like you had to submit the speech, or how did that work for the North Central Texas Dispatcher Association? What is that?
It's North Central Texas Council of Governments, or
Okay.
NCT-COG, which is part of what our dispatch center belongs to. The COG for that region that we belong to. I think it's something like 13 agencies, which include Dallas area. Our area is rural, and we are the furthest east agency belonging to that COG. And it's not that we feel like stepchildren, but we're certainly one of the smaller rural members of the COG,
I get that.
as opposed to the Metroplex area. But they held a contest for a speech to commemorate the recognition of dispatchers being reclassified as first responders. So we submitted our speeches, and then I was notified that my speech was selected. And part of that selection was that I would, I think originally supposed to go to the COG, and maybe the governor or somebody would try and make it, Governor Abbott, and things like that. But obviously, with some of the situations, I can't remember what was going on at the time. There was some sort of shooting or something at the time, and so he wasn't able to make it, but he sent a representative to the COG. And also our COG had some commemorative coins minted, the challenge coins for that moment. And I was to receive coin number 1
Nice.
for that. So that was, kind of cool. But basically just a lot of good speeches, and mine got selected.
Well, I tell you, I really enjoyed it. I mean, you hit the nail on the head. The one that stands out to me is our ears must see what our eyes cannot, and that just really sums up what our job is. We take the sounds and the words of our callers, and then we have to try to relay that information to the first responders out in the field, and paint a picture for them as to what's going on the scene. So that
Absolutely.
that really stood out to me. And now the efforts to get dispatchers in the state of Texas seen as first responders, did you have any involvement in that effort, or were you aware of anyone who was directly involved with that? What that
Not
was?
directly. No, our COG was a good push for that, as well as other COGs in Texas. So they were a big push for that. And we're very lucky in Texas in that Governor Abbott is very pro first responder, pro police, all of those things. So we are very lucky that to have Governor Abbott as an advocate for us as well. And he was very open and receptive to it.
Ma'am, if I may ask, how long
Yes, go
did
right
that
ahead.
take altogether?
I really don't know the numbers. I know it was in the works for years. but I do not know the actual time frame that it took to get it to fruition and then eventually passed.
Well, I got to tell you, I've listened to the speech several times, and the judges for that, they definitely did a great job with selecting your speech. Again, it just, I felt like I was kind of writing it. I think I would have written something very similar, based on my experience for 25 years in doing 911. And I know Jim and you have that much and experience more. So I guess what does it mean for you now that has actually become that you actually are recognized as a first responder to you personally?
Well, obviously, always felt like a first responder, knew that I was a first responder, but finally having that recognition is gratifying to a certain extent, but also makes you feel like you're leaving a legacy for those that are coming behind you, uh, to benefit them both in the job classification, but also in the assistance that they may need, should they need it, to have that accessibility to mental health, uh, you know, uh, benefits and other benefits that first responders are given, for the PTSD and the things that they deal with, just to have that as an asset if they need it, or something, a tool that they can reach out to for their own mental health and protection. It's a
That's
big
awesome.
one because so much of what we deal with is so negative and so traumatic. And it may be years before you even realize or associate some of your behaviors uh, that are you may be exhibiting are associated with PTSD or trauma.
Absolutely, I totally 100% agree with that because I had a call at the very beginning of my career, and I believe that kind of was the stumbling block, to my personal experience. And it wasn't until years later when I was like, oh my gosh, like all this crap started back then. So I, do you have any words of encouragement for? There's literally 6 states right now that recognize dispatchers as first responders, and our whole page is to try to get all the other states to um, do the same, to join in on the 6 that recognize us as first responders. What kind of advice or words of encouragement for the young individuals that are listening, um, who don't really see it as a big deal? Like I agree 100% with you. It's about the recognition, the fact that I know that I would have been a first responder. I've literally saved someone from choking before patrol even showed up at the scene. So I feel it's kind of you know it's by de facto. I know I am a first responder, but it would be nice to get that recognition. So what do you think on how
Absolutely.
to share that with everyone?
Well, I think oftentimes when you first start the career, you don't really always know what you're getting into. Um, a lot of times, these kids that are hired or individuals that are hired, they're all kids to me at my age. Um, they, they get hired, and especially when they are green and have no experience, they literally have no idea what they've gotten themselves into. So you deal with a bit of that shell shock at first. I thought we just answered phones, or I thought we just talked on the radio. So, one, giving them maybe better tools to know what they are getting into. You are not a secretary. You are not clerical. You are a first responder. You are a first contact, and you need to be aware of the responsibilities that go along with that. We don't want to scare you, but we want you to take this seriously. Um, this isn't something, that the Jack in a Box worker is going to be able to come in off the street and do. Uh, it takes a lot of training to become this professional that we are, and to be recognized as that, and maybe even your training and job descriptions, even, from the application process on, from the job description. You know, I can't tell you how many times that we've got people in there and we've started the interview process and they're like, what do you mean I have to work nights? What do you mean holidays? What do you mean weekends? What do you mean you can't tell me what my schedule is going to be? That kind of thing. And you're like, what did you think you were signing up for? This is not a secretary job, you know, Monday through Friday, 8 to 5 or 9 to 5.
Yeah, 365, 24/7.
Exactly.
Holidays
And, you know,
especially.
you're going to miss birthdays, holidays, ball games, things like that. You're the low man on the totem pole, and you are probably going to get the worst shift there is. And it may take years for you to get anything better. That would help, you know, just in the job description itself to maybe gear what people's expectations are when they go into it. And then obviously, like I said, later on, as we get them in there, as we get them trained, access to maybe better benefits and access to maybe better self-care mentally, should you need it, emotionally. It's all just tools. But as a youngster, when you go in there, you're not really sure what to expect. Those that manage to survive, you know, maybe the first few months or even first year of training, I say, you know, it's like a good bird dog. It takes 2 years to make them worth anything. It's not that they aren't intelligent, not that they aren't incapable or capable, but it takes a good solid 2 years for you to begin to feel comfortable.
There's a lot to
and you're constantly learning and you're constantly training, but to start to get comfortable and familiar with all the information that's thrown at you and the technology. So I would say, you know, 2 years into it, it's like a light bulb goes off and I think, oh, I've got this. But when you know you've really got it is when you're working with that other newbie and the officer calls you on the phone and says, hey, who's working today? And it's you and the newbie, and they go, yeah, let me talk to you. And you're like, oh, wait, he didn't ask for somebody else. He's going to talk to me. So
right. Yeah.
I may know what I'm doing now. But, you know, it takes a good 2 years, I think.
Jim, do you have any questions?
I was interested to know, you were talking about the many chains that came on and worked together. Were these NENA and ABCO people, or where did they come from?
Yes, it was probably members from both those at APCO, also the other COGs that encompass all of Texas. So each region has a different COG, like Northeast Texas has the Texoma COG, but I believe all of the COGs also came together, and probably many more entities that I am not aware of that helped put this petition before the governor and lobbied for it.
Now, I've had the great pleasure of meeting a few police and fire and EMS administrators who were supportive of the idea of first responders, you know, dispatchers, first responders. In Texas, do you have a lot of police administrators that were for it or against it, or like are you familiar with that at all?
I'm not sure how, you know, the statistics fall, but obviously you have those that are all for it. Should have been done a long time ago. Those that are like, oh, didn't know it wasn't. And then you have these others that are against it, but their reasoning for being against it isn't because of the recognition itself, but the worry that it's going to cost them more in salary, more in benefits, or does this mean we're going to have to train more? So, and again, not pulling that jack-in-the-box worker off the street, slapping them in a chair, and a week later they're cut loose and working. So, you know, they're worried that there is a requirement coming that they're going to have to attend an academy like a police academy. In Texas, we do that. We have a dispatch academy now. And
awesome.
other states are going to find that financially challenging to have.
Well, they
to
just
put-
have to redirect the money that they're already spending
Exactly.
somewhere else, and that's so. There's some dispatchers that want the whole kit and caboodle all at once, and we're trying to convince a lot of the dispatchers out in our group that first get the recognition, and then a lot of those other things that you're talking about as far as better training, better pension benefits, the post-traumatic stress injury, compensation and access to therapy. We can start nipping at those one bit at a time. But and it's going to be a state by state, case by case basis. But don't give up on the 911 recognition because you're not getting the benefits. Like get the recognition, because some states you need that recognition first before you can qualify for a lot of those other benefits. So you kind of don't want to put the cart before the horse, or whatever that saying goes.
Right. Well, and on top of that, just to be recognized as this profession. You're not a secretary. This is a career. This is a choice. This is a profession, and you are one of those. What was the trifecta of police, fire, EMS? Is actually included. We're in all of that.
Yeah, it's police, fire, EMS, 911, or actually it should be the first one. It's 911, police, fire, EMS.
Exactly. We are the first contact, and without centralized communications, we know that response to any emergency is going to be utter chaos. You don't have an organized response to any emergency, no matter what it is, natural disaster, and through any entity, without having a centralized communications for that. That is a critical and vital link to any business, any response, anything. Communications comes first.
That's absolutely right. Well, based on time limitations and whatnot, I just want to thank you for coming on with us this afternoon and sharing your thoughts and your experiences. And again, that was an amazing speech. Thank you very much for sharing that with us. Jim, do you have any closing remarks you'd like to make?
And I would be honored to invite you to our group and your input at any time, because every little bit helps. And I am so glad that I'm a little jealous that Texas came first, but that's small steps make large steps. So right now we have 6 states that are recognized. It's a lot more work that needs to be done, and when you can reach out from Texas, I can reach out from West Virginia, and James can reach out from New Jersey. That is a good start, and you have to make the people in the group become aware that this is important, or do you want to be called a secretary the rest of your career? There are so many people that are retired now that they never saw that. I have one here in West Virginia. I asked him, I said, Blaine, did you ever think that this would come about? And he said, Jim, to be honest with you, I never thought that it would come about in my career.
Yeah, in our lifetime. And we're leaving a legacy behind, even if it doesn't benefit us, immediately, to know that we're leaving a legacy behind for those that come after us, that they're aware that the others put that groundwork down, and because of their efforts over many years, it will become about 911. Everybody's always assumed 911's always been there.
Well, I had a focus, and I said, well, you have to become a first responder, because when they start passing PTSD legislation and this and that, guess what? you're sitting over in the corner, you're not a first responder. So it has nothing to do with you. And they say, oh no.
Well, and we know that, everything from dispatch being included into critical incident debriefings, a lot of those issues have been covered. It was, why are you here? We know that mentality is changing, but it's going to take a while. And it takes constant effort and bringing that to the forefront with the advent of so many recordings being available out there, starting from even, the Twin Towers incident and 9/11, really brought to the forefront what some of those dispatchers heard and did. So it's coming. It's coming for all of us.
Yep. All right. Yeah, I just got the Zoom. We're going to kick you off the air.
Okay.
so thank you very much for your time. And yeah, real honor to meet you and to speak with you this afternoon. So thank you very much. And
Thank you for having me, and y'all have a good day.
You too. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Uh-huh.